Hey everyone, Nate here, Hill and Ponton's video guy, and today we're going to be talking about migraines with attorney Allison. Before we do, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button. That will go great in helping this channel grow so we can reach more veterans with this free information. With all that now out of the way, hey Allison, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing pretty well. Today we're going to be talking about migraines. I don't really know a ton about how migraines are rated. What is the way that migraines are rated? What are the percentages we can look for?
Okay, so first of all, I think migraines are grossly underrated because if you've ever experienced a migraine, you know that you can't do anything and they can last from an hour to multiple days. Migraines go up to 50%. So 0% rating is less frequent attacks.
Okay.
So what's considered less frequent? So a 10% rating is difficult to understand with the language because it's characteristic prostrating attacks 1 in 2 months over the last couple months, I think. And so what is prostrating? And it's having 1 in 2 months over the last several months.
That's very not specific.
No. And what is prostrating? Who defines prostrating? Do you just go to the dictionary? Because that's what I do. And then 30% is, instead of having 1 in 2 months, it's an average of 1 a month prostrating over the last several months. For 50% rating, it is very frequent, completely prostrating. So not just prostrating, we're completely prostrating and prolonged attacks of severe economic inadaptability.
And then prostrating is just a fancy word for lying down, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think, yes.
Okay.
And that's how usually I utilize it. But yes, so that's the criteria, and it maxes out at 50%.
Okay.
And so when you think about trying to get to individual unemployability, if you know about that, you have to have at least 60% for one condition. So if it maxes out at 50%, you don't have enough to get to 60% for that one condition. So for someone who has migraines and no other conditions, they have to try for extra scheduler consideration, which is very difficult to get. So people with migraines are grossly underrated in my opinion, and it's difficult to get them to where they need to be.
Now when it comes to migraines, is it something that's kind of like a springboard? Like it can cause other secondary conditions?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. The number one secondary condition I would say would be mental health. If you are having migraines to the point where you're prostrating, having to lie down, be in a dark room, you have to think of all of the secondary symptoms that can be associated with it. Pain, of course, one, but there are people who have sensitivity to light. Any light bothers them.
Yeah.
Sensitivity to sound. Any sound is extremely painful. Nausea, vomiting, aura. People have visual aura. They'll see things in their vision. So you have all of those symptoms, and then you are trying to work a job, and you can't because you can't think, you can't concentrate. You have to go in a dark room until it passes, and a lot of pharmaceutical medication either doesn't work for it or is extremely expensive and insurance doesn't cover it. So you get anxiety because you're worried about losing your job. You get depression because you can't interact with your family or your friends like you want to because you're having these episodes where you have to stay away from everything until it passes. So mental health would be, that's always the number one that I always ask for. If I see someone has migraines, I look at their problem list, and usually I'll see anxiety or depression or even insomnia because the pain is too much and they can't get a good night of sleep from it.
Gosh, and frequent lack of sleep from nights is awful. I had a shoulder issue at the beginning of this year and couldn't sleep for a couple of nights in a row. That's a whole different animal. So I can't imagine having a migraine that stops you from being able to sleep for nights in a row.
And it's a vicious cycle because you can't sleep, so then your body's not getting the rest you need, and then you're kind of triggering more migraines and you're stressed out about it, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle that continues.
Yeah, I'm now agreeing that migraines are grossly underrated.
Yes.
Yeah, 0 to 50% is not a lot. Great, well thank you. I think that covers everything we need. If you want more information on migraines, you can click the link in the description below. That'll lead you to an article that talks about migraines. And as always, thank you for watching.